Welcome to another edition of the program that teaches about computers, gives consumer information by hardware software demos, community events about computer activities, and answers your questions on the topic of computers. Tonight I'm going to be running part 2 of the video from the Red River X, the 21st Century Magic Show, presentation with Jeff Allen. You will see how holograms are made, 3D TV technology, and lots of computer animation. I have two special guests with me tonight, Lee Holleran of Icon Gallery and Ozzy Asmundson, and he has received a grant from the government to develop holograms at the University of Manitoba or using their facilities. Our phone lines are now open at 287-4545, so please feel free to call in and ask my guests your questions about holography. And I have with me tonight my telephone operator, Daryl, that will be taking your calls. Now, I'd just like to ask the guests quite quickly if they can sort of summarize what their dealings in holography is. I'll ask you first of all, Lee.
Well, right now we have a holographic gallery on Osborne Street, a full retail. We also do wholesaling right across the country of all hologram products, prints, watches, jewelry, that type of stuff.
And how long approximately have you been having this gallery open?
This is year 2 now we've made it.
And have you found a lot of interest from people that look into your gallery?
People just love it. They've never seen a hologram before. They just get really freaked out by it.
How big of a store would you say you have? Is it
about 700 square foot. So it's quite large, yeah.
And do you have any specific type of category of hologram that you usually carry? Or is
we
it
carry everything, anything that we can find in holograms.
On my last show, I actually had some people ask me about life-size posters of holograms.
Big bucks.
Big dollars. But this person was interested in pursuing this area. Could you recommend anything to her?
$8,000 to $10,000, big dollars.
So if the person has that kind of money,
they could do something. We could get connections to do stuff like that without a problem. Right. Any kind of custom work we can get done as well.
I see. Now, the other guest I have here, Ozzy, actually he is manufacturing holograms. What type do you manufacture, Ozzy, and how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing mine about 4 months now. And I should clear one thing up. I didn't receive money to develop it at the university. I'm doing it. I have my own studio set up in my home, and I make reflection holograms, which are the white light viewable holograms, and as opposed to the transmission holograms, and that's about it. I've been doing it for about 4 months now.
Okay. Yeah, later on in the program we're actually going to show you some of the holograms that Ozzy has done and a few representations that Lee has brought down from his store. But right now, we have no phone calls coming in, so we're going to run the video on part 2 of the holography and let you see more about the 3D television technology and holography. But while the video is playing, you can still call in and I'll take some of your questions down. Okay, so run that video now and we'll be back in 15 minutes or so to talk more with my guests. Versus conventional movie production.
Well, the cost is going to be increased because of the fact that we're actually working with different camera angles than is available, not that it's available, than is used in regular film footage, right? The cost of the hardware, anyway, it's appreciable. It's not like outrageous or anything along this line.
What about in comparison to the IMAX technology that exists today?
Oh, it'd probably be very comparable. It might even be cheaper. No, I'm thinking about that hardware.
I know a lot of cities have IMAX theaters, so you figure this might start out that way where major cities pick up one theater and then it goes from there.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That could actually be a method of how it's done. And in fact, what I'm suggesting is actually probably a method of that. But I see it being done more as opposed to where they've had to build their own buildings because of the fact of the 4-story high buildings and things along this line, right? Well, this one will be more of a conversion of probably even existing stages that before had live productions and things on this line.
You wouldn't have to, you could just convert any existing theater into holographic cinema.
Not necessarily any, but most of them. Most of the ones but not the movie theaters, the actual live stage theaters, the ones that had live performances before. That would be the theaters we'd be first looking at to convert. We basically need a basement area, too, above the projection area.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about one of your other exhibits here. You've got a 3D TV television station here. TV set, and I also noticed some different glasses. Maybe you could give us an idea about what this exhibit is all about and how it differs from our standard TV, which most of us watch at home.
Okay, well, about 2 years ago, probably the most asked question from the people going through the exhibit was, when are they going to have holographic television? And that being a few years off at least, I came across the system where I was looking at it and I said, hey, this is probably the best 3D I've ever seen, and it was a television system. And it was basically put together by a person named Michael Starks and his 3D TV Corporation. And so I decided to bring that along as part of an additional attraction to my show. And since what I'm trying to do here is showcase technologies of the 21st century, it fit in perfectly. How the system works is it basically uses a regular television, a regular VCR. What it has is special tapes, which were originally filmed in 3D that transferred to video. It has a stereo driver and then liquid crystal glasses. So what happens is that the glasses sync up with the programming on the television, and you effectively see 3D. And a very high quality. You saw it yourself, right? You noticed the quality of that. It looks like you're looking out a window or something.
So in order to get this effect, this was actually shot with a special type of a camera?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and also, is this available in the market today? Can a person actually go out and buy this type of thing and have three-dimensional television in his home, or is that a ways off yet?
No, it's actually available now, but the distribution of it has just begun. So it's just starting. Most of it is actually coming directly from the person who's making the system, so this is being bought that way or bought by industry.
What would be the cost of something like this as opposed to our conventional television that we have in our home?
Well, the televisions would be the same, whatever you have, and the VCRs would be the same. It would just be your additional equipment. The tapes, the glasses, and the driver. Somewhere around maybe $250, $300 for a system, including a tape. And then tapes cost about $50 a piece.
I also remember the days when everybody wore those old 3D glasses. How do these new ones differ from the old ones that you put on? Is there major differences there?
I think mainly in the quality of the transition itself and the programming itself, right? In fact, this system, a lot of it can be used with those glasses. As far as like if we were to do a projection TV or something like that, we can program it so it can work with polarized glasses. So the main thing is in the programming, just the higher quality of programming, and the fact that each eye is syncing with the images on the television, so there's almost no way for it to go wrong.
I just wanted to ask you one last question about 3D TV. Is there actually anybody producing movies or shows in 3D TV format?
Yeah, Michael Starks, the person who has 3D TV Corporation, is producing ones more like going to like expos, like World's Fairs, things along that line, going to the virtual reality seminars, and more of a documentary capacity in that. And plus, they're also getting more rights for some of the older 3D movies and that. So the catalog is getting quite extensive right now.
So they're actually doing what somebody's done, take black and white, make it color, take old 3D movies, make them better.
Oh, well, not necessarily. More taking the movies themselves and then put them into a format that works better. It's okay. Another thing that we're trying to show with the 3D TV, too, because virtual reality is becoming more and more popular, and as it is getting stronger and they're working more into the R&D field of that, the images are getting better, and also more of the virtual reality systems are going to 3D. So we've also been showing people what the future of virtual reality visuals are going to be like when you're actually almost as clear as life, so to speak. And so other than we're lacking the interactive part, we're still showing them the future of how the quality of the virtual reality experience is going to be improved.
Okay, speaking about virtuality, I just wanted to talk to you a bit about that now. I recently saw seen the movie The Lawnmower Man, and that's where my first exposure to virtuality was, in the game area. And I'm wondering what kind of videos did you bring today, what you'll be talking about in that area?
Okay, well, mainly what we're showing, again, with the virtual reality as far as that perspective is showing people what the future of the visuals is going to look like. Plus, we're also showing computer-animated tapes, in some cases, which is showing people what the applications are of virtual reality. And also, the holograms themselves are considered a virtual image. So, in other words, it's a three-dimensional virtual reality in a way without the interaction.
Yeah, I also remember recently the virtuality was here in the city with the game machine, and I noticed it requires a lot of hardware and software to run it. It's quite a intensive processor it needs to run this type of technology.
Yeah, it does. And what also I see my main interest in virtual reality is, one, the programs themselves for interaction, they keep getting better and better. And eventually they will merge with holography, and we'll probably get rid of all that hardware that people are having to wear as far as headsets and as far as the gloves are concerned and things along this line. Get more into sensors, and eventually create, you might say, a holodeck, which people are seeing on the Star Trek shows and that.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it's possible to use computers with the software, and the computers get more sophisticated nowadays to generate holograms and things like that.
Yeah, for many years now, people have been pursuing that. In the early years, they were called kinetoforms, using computers to create the images for holography. Technology, you'll notice in some of the exhibits around here, we have the holographic movies and things along this line. That's a technique that we're actually able to make holograms of film frames, which, of course, animation or video can be converted to and then made into holograms. So we're already making holograms of computer-generated images. Plus, right now, Steve Benton at Media Labs is working on a video-produced hologram. So there's a lot of energy going into that. And not only that, we already have the ability to do it. You know, it's just being improved. And so with that technology, if you please, we'll be able to, and creating things like maybe a mid-air sensors or along this line, we'll actually be able to use a holography, as you might say, almost the hardware to show the computer animation. And so it will be like three-dimensional. And thus kind of eliminating the headsets as far as virtual reality is concerned, and then using the sensors as far as like the gloves to create that control of the interaction with the system itself.
So this would be the future where we get rid of all the headset, all the hardware that virtual reality has nowadays. And I heard some people say it's very awkward to wear this headgear because it's not refined. It's still in the development stages. That holography you'd still get the same effect as if you're wearing the headgear with virtuality.
Right, right. Not to say the headsets aren't going to be eliminated. Oh, sure, they'll get smaller in the future and all that. And some of the systems you're not really having to put on the headsets. You might get into a pod to use that, right? You know, I just see that there will be that merging of holography and virtual reality at some particular date, and there'll be other branches of it, so to speak.
What would you say some of the current applications of this virtual reality technology would be nowadays, besides just the game entertainment area?
Okay, well, I think one of the biggest use right now is as far as like architectural, so people can actually create a building before they build it and then walk through it, and so you have that experience of seeing what that building is like before it's built. You know, so you can make your improvements, or in some cases you can actually go into the building itself or the room itself and move walls around. You have that ability, so you can change it almost real time to you know, creatively interact with it in the moment, as opposed to have to go through the designing stages or a method to design it, actually.
What about in the USA? What exactly are they doing with virtuality down there? Because I know in Canada it's just starting to catch on a little bit because we've been just exposed to it within the last month or two, having our first exhibit here. But I imagine the USA and other parts of the world, it's an ongoing development process.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of focus and energy going into it. One, because it's such a glamorous situation, and one, the media's really got onto it, so people are aware of it and they're wanting to see what's happening. Some of the applications I see is there are actually, I think, amusement park rides that are going in with it. There's such as you had here, some things like pods where people can go in and use the virtual reality in an entertainment sense. Games where people can interact with each other in a virtual world. The architectural application is getting really strong in that capacity. Other divisions of virtual reality is telepresence and teleremote, which is ability to be somewhere else and then control that camera or that experience, such as like robots as far as like in space, or being in someplace like underwater with a robot, cameras, things along that line. This is all kind of part of the virtual world. And then also a lot of it's just going into pure research as far as improving the images themselves and the technology itself and making the headsets lighter and more interaction, more real-time capacity, more computer storage or computer size capacity, I guess I'm trying to say.
I've also heard that the Army takes extreme interest in this virtuality field too, in the Navy.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Okay, we'd just like to continue on and talk about your computer animation exhibit you brought here to show us some videos that were done computer animated and how they were created and what they were created with. We'd just like to talk to you about those.
Okay. Again, one of my motives for having the animation here is to show people the new technologies, the cutting-edge technologies of the 21st century, what we're going into, but also the technologies that are going to emerge with holography, right? Which I was talking about, that we're working into the capacity of being able to use holograms made of computer animation. So, but what I'm doing